This is the video for round 1 of Open Rails Origins by Jack Neal. I will be playing as a solo player. The game does play with 1 to 3 people. I may occasionally refer to multiplayer rules, but the point of this video is to go through solo. So as a solo player, you begin the game with $60. And I like to have a variety of large and small bills so I don't have to fiddle as I go through. So I'll have my money off to the side and I'll refer to it and recount it as I play through the game. So I've got $60. My job is to make sure that I keep track of this little guy here. So I'm in round 1 and I'm going to place him on the number specifically to remind myself that I need to see what potential special abilities will be available during this round. For this particular round 1, I ended up with First Operation, which if I was playing multiplayer would allow me to be the first person to go during one of the phases. Since I'm not playing multiplayer, that will not help me. And this is First Stock. Again, it would allow me to buy stock before anybody else I was playing with, but because I'm playing solo, neither one of these cards help. So I'm going to set them to the side. I get no additional special abilities during this round. I'm going to move my train guy down, and this is the stock phase. During the first round of the solo game, you are allowed to pick up 6 stocks. So I've got 6 in hand. Now, if I was playing multiplayer, in order to start a train company, I would have to have 3 stocks. But the solo game only requires you to have 2 stocks. I have a choice between red and yellow, and I am most certainly going to start a company at this stage. The sooner you get started with your company, the better. And so, I'm either going to pick red or yellow. If I look at the board, red has a starting value of 1, and it is directly connected to a city that has a 2. Yellow has a starting value of 1, and it is connected to a 3 as well as a 2 value, which will gain me more income more quickly. And it is also very, very close to a city that has a 4 value. So I think it is without doubt a good idea to begin by buying the yellow stock. I am only going to run 1 train company at a time here in the beginning round 1 and probably round 2. I want to get established. I want to collect money. So the way buying stock works, although the president's stock certainly exists because I'm playing solo, I am considered the president of all stations. So that particular stock is immaterial. Buying stocks. Rules state that the very first stock that you buy, you must pay double the amount that you set. The second stock and all other corresponding stocks are the standard value as measured by the track at the top of the board. The value that you set is critically important. It will speak to the flow of the rest of the game. Over on the stock board, if I set the value initially as 12 per stock, then I get 17 beginning pieces. If I were to start the stock at $10 a piece, 10 apiece, then I would only begin with 14 starting pieces. I would take several pieces and completely remove them from the game. That decreases on down the line where you pay, eventually the lowest that you can pay to get started would be $7 per stock, and you would only begin that company with 8 starting pieces. That has a pretty immediate detrimental effect on the potential success of the company. The lower you go, the less likely you are to really make any kind of reasonable amount of money off of the company. So for me, I start with $60 and I set my train as high as possible. And the highest starting value would be $12 per share, and I get 17 pieces to work with. Now, $12 per share, recall the first share that you buy, you must pay double the value. That would make this one worth 24 plus an additional 12, $36 is what I am paying for these shares. And it goes on the yellow mat. And I'm going to count out my $36, 30, 5 and 1. Now this $36 does not get paid to the bank. It goes into the company funds. So I'm going to put $36 right in the money bit. I've paid for those shares. Now I've got a couple of pieces that I have to move around the board. The initial train station, so I have a special piece. You certainly don't need to have one. That goes right down onto the mat on the yellow's starting position. There is a different color starting position for each one of the mats. This is red, purple's down here, green off to the side, etc. So I place my yellow station. I take another one of my tokens and I mark the starting value, and that was 12 for me. Finally, I take a third token and I put that right near the 1. That particular token, recall this track helps me keep track of what exactly each one of my companies is worth in terms of shares. So at this point, my company is completely worthless. I haven't built any tracks. I don't have a train that will pay me money, so I put it completely off to the side, but I will move that eventually. All right, continuing along with round 1, I have purchased stock, and that is right at the bottom of the stock phase. Now, I didn't have an opportunity to sell stock because I didn't have any. So I have purchased stock. Now, at this stage, the stock phase ends, and we move down to the operation phase. So my little engineer is now standing on a train, and there's a couple of components related to this. Improvements are the first stage of the operation phase. Improvements include building up a maximum of 3 hexes in a given turn, unless you have a special card that tells you otherwise. I do not. So I have the opportunity to build up 3 hexes. Another improvement that I could do would be to upgrade a city that I stand on. Now, right now, the most important thing for me to do is to start getting connected to cities. I'll probably be upgrading towards the end of the game to save that particular mechanic. So for now, I really need to upgrade, and in order to do that, I need to use company funds. So I'm going to take a look at the board, and I'm going to think about what each hex costs. Little reminders are right here on the redesigned board, but I will call them out. I must build on the particular hex that I began. So that's $4 for any city. Each additional city or small town also costs $4 to develop the hex. Plains cost $2. I am not going to build over a hill, but again, that's $4 to build on. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to work on connecting cities to my initial hex. Now, the simplest thing for me to do would be to build into this 3 and build into this 2. So that's what I am going to do. And because I paid so much for my shares, I know that I can afford it. I have $36 to work towards it. Each one is 4, so it's going to cost me $4, $8, $12 to get built up. So that's 10, and take 3 back and change. And I'm already out of singles. All right, so that's that. Now I need to put the corresponding tokens on it. One of the really great things about the redesign is that right up above the each of the individual phases, it tells you what kinds of tracks you can lay. So initially, I'm not allowed to build any tokens that would touch more than 1. So this would be out of bounds. This would be out of bounds. I wouldn't be allowed to make little clusters, and it indicates here that I essentially have to draw straight paths on the hex board. Now, another thing, if I were allowed to build on a 4th, I would not be allowed to build here either, because that would create a branch, and that isn't allowed until round 2, 3, and 4. So initially, you may only build straight tracks. All right, so what have I done so far? I have managed to do 1 improvement. and that is build up those 3 hexes. My next step is to collect income. Sadly, I do not own any trains to actually travel along these tracks. The trains show up here. Because I don't own any trains, I'm not allowed to collect income. And the rules state that if you have a particular company that is unable to collect income during this part of the phase, then its stock drops 2 spaces to the left. Its value drops by 2 spaces. Fortunately, during the first round, there is a note that you are only to drop the stock's value by 1. Because I cannot earn income, I don't have trains, I must decrease my stock value by 1. So moving right along. I have failed to collect income. I'll do that in the next round. We'll see how that works. Now, my next option is to buy a train. And that's exactly what I want to do with my reserve funds here. I kept it in my brain that I needed to hold off a little bit of money so that I could buy trains and then start collecting income. Now, I have in my funds $24. The board indicates in the first column that it costs $10 per train. Each train allows me to collect income from 2 cities. Again, that's the first column that increases as you move to the right. So the 2's in there mean 2 cities. I am already connected to 3 cities, and I'd really like to start collecting income on them. So I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy 2 trains. So that's $20, 1 per train. I take my tokens, and I indicate that I have indeed purchased those trains. So now I've got the ability to connect to or collect on 4 different cities, and we'll see what that looks like next round. For now, I've purchased those trains. The card indicates that it is the cleanup phase and there's a bonus. That bonus is only applied when you are playing multiplayer games. It does not count for solo, so that means I have completed round 1. I'm going to move my engineer right up to the top to the 2 marker, and I do that specifically because I've got to remember that I've got 2 cards to look at. Hopefully one of them will give me a bonus this round. All right. One of them, the track income, is going to raise $2 for each cube on the board. The entire sum is either given to me or placed in the railroad's treasury. That's a pretty darn good card considering I've got 4 cubes. 4 cubes at $2 a piece would give me $8. Right now, I have $24. So $8 puts me back in range to get another company going and more income coming in. $8 would also certainly help my company at this point. I only have $4, so I'm not going to be able to upgrade anything else next round. I might be able to connect to 1 city. I might go through 2 planes, but $8 kind of makes a difference at this point. Now, the other option that I have is to trade in a train. Now, up top here, the maximum number of tokens that I can have is 2 per color. So right now, the most that I can do is get payments on 4 cities. If I start jumping through and I make it over to the next column, then I'll be able to connect to more cities. Since that would be quite a dollar investment to start jumping through different train values, and it would be at least 2 rounds before it even started to pay off, I think that I am not going to take the trade-in train card. I'm definitely going to take the track income card. Now this takes place immediately, so I have to do it before I pick up those cards. There's also a note that you must be the president of the railroad to use this action. Again, because we're playing solo, I am the president of Yellow. So I'm going to do track income. I'm going to take my $8 and I'm going to really think about it. 20, do 8, gives me 32. It really puts me in a good place to start another train. However, if yellow shares come up, I wouldn't be able to buy those, and having more shares means you make more money. I think what I am going to do is I am going to invest that $8 right into my train station. No, I'm not going to invest it into the company. I'm going to take it in hand. If shares come up, they'll end up in the company anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. It's $8. So I'll put in 2, and I'll take 2 5s. All right, so now, thanks to that little bonus, I am up to $32. And I'm moving on. It is time to take a look at the stock. First round, I was allowed to look at 6 stocks. I'm hoping that I did that. From round 2 on, you're only allowed to look at 5. So I'll take my 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, this bodes pretty well. Now I'm going to miss out on this share this time around if I decide that I had better start another company rolling. And I'm actually gonna do that so that we can see the impact of not having all of the tokens to begin with. So eventually all the shares that I'm discarding are gonna end up shuffled back into the stack. I will have another chance to potentially buy that last share. So I'm gonna set these aside. I'm gonna start another railroad. I also know that I've discarded one of the purples already, so I'll have to worry about reshuffling that in to potentially buy it. Now, I only have $32. That is not sufficient to start up at 12. I would need 12.24 for the first stock, and then another 12 to make 36 to get the second, which means that I must start this particular track at the $10 mark. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay $10 for the second share and $20 for the first. That's a total of $30, and I'll get the purple train rolling. So I've got that, and I'm paying $30. So that's 30. And again, that money does not go to the bank. That money goes into the company itself. I have to put down a token that indicates that it is worth 10. I only get to start with 14, actually. 14 tokens. So I'm going to count that one. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. These 3 are completely removed from the game. I do not get to play with them ever. They never come back. So I'm starting off at a bit of a disadvantage because I did not spend $12 per share. All right, so how does it lay out? I've got that one up there. I have to put my starting station down. So I'm going to put that down there. They're at the bottom of the board. And I have to take one of these tokens and get it ready for counting income. So again, I'm going to put that on the side of the board. And when I start making money with this particular train company, I'll move that to keep track. Next, referring to my card, I did not sell stock. I bought my stock. I'm ready to move on to the operational phase and do improvements. So I'm going to move my conductor down and think about the improvements that I want to do. I know for sure that I need this company to start earning money. So I am definitely going to put aside $10 to purchase a train. So that's sort of set aside, and I'm going to allot that, which means that I have left $20 to do upgrades. At this stage, because it's so early in the game, it might behoove me to also think about the fact that I'm going to have to pay $20 for the second train that I purchased for this company. At any rate, I certainly need to build up some hexes, so I know I have to pay 4 for this, and then it's a question of where I'm going to connect to. In terms of the cheapest path, I believe that's going to be up over to this area, and that is Meridian. This would be $4. This is 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, $4 to get there. So it would be $12 to connect up to another city. And I think that's definitely going to be my plan, because the opposite direction, if I wanted to figure out the cheapest way to get to these cities, this would be 4 plus 2, that's 6, that's 10, because I need another 4, 11, 12, and then 4 more. So that would be 16 if I was attempting to get to Selma from down there in Mobile. So I'm going to definitely connect up to here, and I'm going to allot, I can only do 3 hexes. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. $8 needs to go in there. So I'm going to take a 10, take my 2 and change, and remember, I've set aside that 10. I know that I'm going to end up buying a train. That's purple. Oh, that's yellow. I'm sorry, what have I done? Yeah, no, that's purple. Okay, and I need to actually build those tracks out. So 1 for Mobile, and then 1 for each plane. That's purple's build up. Now I've got yellow. I can connect to and get paid from 4 cities. Right now, I am only connected to 3. It's 4 cities because I have 2 trains at 2 each. So I am going to continue to build up, and I definitely want to connect to this particular location. That is Atlanta. I am allowed to connect to Atlanta because I can now make breaks. I'm in the round where I can do the Y values, branches. So I'm going to do that. I am going to build $4, $5, $6 in hexes if I have the money. Oh, I do not. I only have $4. So I'm going to build what I can. I'm going to spend the $2 to get that plane into place. And I am going to hope that I am able to buy a share and get more money in there. I don't think I'm going to choose to withhold debit. Actually, I'm going to do something against what I would do as a player, just as an instructional technique. So that's that. I have now built up purple, and I've built up yellow, and it is time to collect income. So I'm going to just continue to go from purple to yellow. Purple does not actually own any trains yet. There's no trains that have been purchased, so it cannot collect income. As a result, it suffers the -2 penalty. Remember, in round 1, it's only a 1 movement to the left. Any other rounds, if you have a company that cannot collect income, it gets penalized by 2. So purple goes from a value of 10 in stock to a value in 8 in stock. That's great for me wanting to buy stock, but at the end of the game, I get paid out for the shares that I own based on the price at the top. If it's low, you simply don't get a lot of money. All right, so closing this out then, yellow does have 4 different cities that it can get paid for. And here's a critical point in the game. I have to decide how much my train company can pay out. So right now I have a city that's 3, a city that's 2, and a city that's 1 that I have built upon. That gives me a total of 6. Since I have the ability to collect from 4 cities, not just 3, I'm allowed to wrap back around and revisit one of my cities. So that means that I have 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3 again. That's my 4 cities, and that is only allowed because I have a 2 and 2 allows me to visit 4 cities. So that means I've got 3, 6, 9. Now, there are 5 shares for every company. You take the sum of all of your cities and divide by 5. After that, you round up. So 9 divided by 5 gives me something just over 1. I round up, that means that each one of my shares is worth $2. Since I have 2 shares, yellow is earning me $4 every round. So that means now that it's time to pay out, yellow is actually paying me out, and it's doing it $4. At this stage, I either have the option to take that $4 as my own money to buy stocks with and whatnot. If I do that, the yellow marker goes up 1 to the right. The other option is to allow the company to withhold that money. If that happens, you move the stock value down 1. Now, this is against my better judgment. I don't like stock prices dropping precipitously, especially at the beginning, but it might do me the favor of ending up giving me cheaper stocks to purchase, and then hopefully by the end of the game I'll get it back up again. So against my better judgment, I'm going to go ahead and have the company withhold that $4. I'm going to pay my 1, take a 5, and because it withheld it, I'm decreasing the stock value. It is now worth 9 apiece. Now I did that because I want to connect to that next city. When I do that, I will have an extra value. I think my share value might increase this round, but it's certainly more and more likely to increase as you connect to more cities. So that's the end of that particular section. I've kept the dividend for the company, decreased its stock value, and now it's time to buy trains. I knew that I was holding back money from Purple to make sure that its stock doesn't keep decreasing and to make sure that I eventually make money with them. So I'm going to pay $10 to the bank, and I'm going to take my token, and now I can collect money on 2 different cities. I'm only connected to 1, but because I'm connected to 2, it'll wrap back around. However, by the time that happens, I should connect to 3. Let's take stock for a second, and then I'll stop the video and start round 3 in a different section. So at this point, I've managed to build out yellow reasonably well. I'm about to connect to another city. I'm going to try to save up money to be able to connect to another 3, take away 2. We'll see how that looks, but I'll be connecting to more cities as we go. I've got a little bit of money in the bank on Purple, a little bit of money in the bank on yellow. I have $2 in my hand, so I am not going to be buying any stocks this next round. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll start the video for the next round.